It's actually kind of funny. When Aaron asked me to go, he didn't really ask me. He said, "You're going to Canada." And so I was like, okay, that's a great thing. I will go. And I really wanted to go this year, in particular because of Daniel and Amber, and I was really looking forward to seeing their church plant and seeing the progress that they've made over this past year. And it was a really amazing experience.
I heard through the grapevine about this trip, and I approached Aaron really, honestly, kind of selfishly, because I had never been to Canada, and I thought, what a beautiful place to go to, and just my initial desire to go was really selfish, and I just wanted to see the animals and see the mountains, and on the way there and getting there and seeing the people we're working with, and just doing the block parties and working with Daniel and Amber and seeing their heart formations, it truly clicked with me that I was there for a different reason, and God taught me so much about how we can change ministry at our church to further His kingdom better. And so even though my heart maybe not have been in the right place when when I originally decided to go, God really showed me why He had me there, and I am just so excited to go back next year.
It was really a blessing to see that they kind of threw the rule book out the window, and they met the people where they were. If that was at the park, if that was while they were shopping, if that was in nature, on a hike, on a trail, it doesn't matter. They will take the gospel where they know that this particular people group is going to congregate. In addition to Daniel and Amber's ministry, we got to be a part of another ministry that was sort of a surprise. We weren't expecting it. We thought that we were really going to work with Daniel and Amber exclusively for the whole week that we were there, but near the end of the trip, we were introduced to a local named John, and he is a unique individual who has found a way to incorporate himself into the local Indian reservation, which is really a feat in and of itself. We understand that that people group are not very accepting of white people. They do not trust white people. They have obviously had bad experiences in the past, and they really just see that as a threat, and they want to have their local reservation, and they don't want any involvement from the local community population. And somehow John has found a way.
I mean, this is his life. He gave up everything to go and do this. So this is not something he goes and does on the weekend. It's not something he does after dinner at night for an hour. I mean, he truly has devoted the rest of his life, I believe, for these people and for the mission that he believes God has laid on his heart. And he does everything in his power to try to carry that out and meet the needs and make relationships. And he has already, like Brian said, I mean, it's a feat that he is even in this community, welcomed into this community. I mean, we pulled up to a gate, and he had a key to that gate in the reservation, and we were like, wow, this guy is serious. Yeah, they trust him here.
They ask him to pray. Yeah.
They do. They trust him enough to give them prayer requests for their reservation and for their people, and he is really doing work there that you would think is impossible. And he really needs our financial support. He needs our prayers, and he needs physical help to clean up the reservation and to offer services to the people there. So if you go, if you don't think you're interested in what Daniel and Amber are doing in Canada, then maybe what John is doing in Canada is something that you could be a part of.
Absolutely, and especially for John, I mean, his dedication is just unparalleled from things that I've seen. He spent 4 years in the food pantry alone, never doing anything else, just in the food pantry 3 days a week, 4 years. Just to get into the community. So to see a white man, with this big long white beard, with a key
Cowboy
to their community.
boots?
Yeah, cowboy
Yeah,
boots
cowboy
with a key to their community that just speaks volumes, especially to the work that he's doing there. But there are people that are desperately in need. He's even giving them jobs. He's finding out ways for them to make a living for themselves, and there's a ton of people just scattered out. I think he said something like 4,500 people scattered over this land.
They think so far outside of the box. They dress up in costumes. They go door to door and don't knock on the door. They hang stuff, waiting for just inviting people who will listen. They meet in a movie theater. They do things very different from us. And I think that sometimes that means we need to think outside the box. We need to see, just because it's worked for the last 50 years doesn't mean that we can't try something new and see how it goes.
One of the things that strikes me is no matter if you go to Kentucky on a mission trip, or the Philippines, or Moldova, or Honduras, or Canada, they're doing ministry. The people who are the most effective doing ministry are finding out what works in that community, and that's what they're doing. And it doesn't mean that we can come back, duplicate that ministry and get the same results. It just means that what we have to do is have the heart to learn what works and then do it.
We were told that we were going to have to dress up as Disney characters and go out to these parks with the kids. I have to be honest, I was a little put off by it, because I'm thinking, Disney, Jesus, how does that hurt? That part of their ministry really impacted me, because it starts with the families, it starts with the children, and once you draw them in, then the parents will follow.
We at Hephzibah have just the same opportunities. Wendell Park, Nightdale Park, Zebulon Park, there's so many simple things that we can do to meet people where they are.
One thing I really learned from Daniel and Amber was we're so easily discouraged by things that come up, like rain, or things that if it rained and we thought there was a 90% chance of rain and we had something planned in the park, we would probably cancel the event. Where we might think, well, it's such a waste of time to set up all that stuff and inflate all those big things, and then you roll them up and they're wet, and what are you going to do with it? But their mentality was, this is what we're going to do, and if it reaches one person in the hour that we have, it's worth it.
When we went to the first launch, or the soft launch, we learned after the fact that a lot of their new members were learning what it was to be a believer through discipleship and through mentorship and through doing. There's a lot of action in what they do. It's not a lot of talk. It's a lot of action. And that example that they set is attracting a lot of Canadian non-believers who they know what it is to love people, and they know what it is to care for people. That they don't know what it is to love people the way that Jesus loves people. And Daniel and Amber are doing a very good job of demonstrating that.
But that's what Jesus did when he was here on earth. Jesus welcomed everybody. He welcomed the poor. He didn't look down on them and say, hey, you're poor, it's your own fault. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No. He welcomed them. He loved them. He welcomed the wealthy, people who were really well off, and the rest of the world just kind of assumed they must have cheated their way to the top. He loved them as if they were just like anybody else. He loved the diseased. He welcomed prostitutes. He went to the religious leaders and he showed them compassion and a little bit of a thump in the ears when they needed it. Jesus was willing to welcome and embrace absolutely everyone.
Daniel and Amber, they have a plan and it's working. And I would say, I went to Moldova a couple years ago. I've been on local mission trips, and I would say, while all of our partnerships are great, this I really believe is going to be an extremely fruitful partnership. And I would just encourage you to give to this partnership if you can't go, and go if you can.
We highly recommend that when the next opportunity comes, which it will, that you don't let anything encumber you from being a part of this next trip, whether it be finances or time or vacation time off from work or personal matters. The Lord has made a way for each of us and many others in the team that most recently went, and I'm certain that he will do the same for you. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to serve and fulfill the Great Commission.